Welcome to Routing for Success, the show where we interview today's top logistics professionals, providing them a platform to share their stories and best practices. I'm your host, Emily Blair.
And I'm your host, Jake Hirsch. Today we interview Adrian Gerard. Adrian runs 18 team runs out of Phoenix, Arizona. We dive deep into managing team drivers, the most efficient times to trade your trucks out, and changes to directional discharge. You're not going to want to miss this one.
This episode is brought to you by AP Equipment Financing. AP Equipment Financing can bring you the best deals on step vans, panel vans, cutaways, and more, deliver them straight to your facility, and finance them with low monthly installment options. Click the link in the description to this episode or visit apfinancing.com.
Adrian, thank you so much for coming on. You are owner of Gerard Trucking. Can you give us a little background? How did you first get into FedEx, and where are you based out of?
Sure. So we are based out of Phoenix, Arizona. My father started back in the RPS days, back in 96. Right around 98, FedEx kind of came in, maybe a little bit before that, and he was offered his first contract. And from there, I kind of came into the picture back in 2009 when I was 19. I kind of started helping him run like some behind the scenes stuff and kind of see if I liked the industry and whatnot, and ended up liking it. So followed in his path in 2003 is when I was actually awarded my own separate contracts under Adrian Trucking. And then I was kind of running both at the same time, and it made more sense to, hey, we're father and son, why don't we just merge into one? And that's when Gerard kind of took off. So we are now at 18 total tractors.
That's awesome. And now, when you decided to merge, were you both running out of the same hub stations terminals, or was that kind of a combination? And did you make any changes at that point?
No, so we've always been out of the Phoenix terminal since day one. It's been, I've grown up on that yard actually since I was about 6 years old. So I've seen that built from a tiny place to this giant size that they are now. But yeah, no, we've always been out of the Phoenix terminal here in Arizona.
And Adrian, I'm sure that it's changed a little bit, but can you give us a little insight on what the process was like for merging the company? Because I work with a lot of contractors right now, both in the line haul space and in the P&D space, that have 2 to 6 different companies and different entities, mostly due to scale. And I'm not sure if that's changed, if it started back when you guys were forced to be incorporated, or what. What was that like for you?
So it wasn't really the same process as it is today. Today it's a little bit more in depth. So, if you go to sell a company or, buy a company, it's a lot more thorough, and, it's not just filling out a couple of pieces of paper. This one was pretty easy because we were father and son. They saw me there every day. They saw my dad there every day. It was a pretty clean transition. We just had to change over CDAS stuff and relogo some tractors, and that was pretty much it. That was pretty seamless.
And are you still managing, or have you hired additional managers on as you've grown?
Back about 3 years ago, maybe about 4 years ago, is when I kind of started to do some delegating, I guess. I was kind of the one-man show at that point. My dad's kind of heading into retirement, so I kind of wanted to get him to really retire, not just be saying he's retired and still kind of working. But so now I would consider myself like the operations manager. But I have a safety manager. I have a maintenance manager. We have a role called MRC, which is like our maintenance relief coordinators. And they're like our part-time drivers that fill in. When people call out sick, they go on vacation, and they maintain our tractors on a weekly basis.
That makes a lot of sense. So, Adrian, coming from, it sounds like, 1 tractor to 18 that you guys now have, at what point, how many tractors did you feel it was appropriate to start actually paying a manager's salary?
Yeah, so FedEx asked us that too, and it's kind of hard. I guess it's depending on how much you want to do. I mean, at one point it was just a little bit too much to do everything for myself. I mean, I would say probably right around like that 8 to 10 is probably when you want to at least have one other person with you. Like if my dad was probably, fully hands-on still, he wanted to keep doing it. You might be able to get away with it with, two people that you trust and everything. But I'd say probably right around the 8 to 10 is really when you probably want to start handing something out, like, the maintenance side or the safety side, because, things start falling through the crack and, maintenance leads to breakdowns lead to safety. So you don't really want to, take anything off. But yeah, it was pretty much to the point where I guess for me, my personal one was more like, okay, hey, like, I don't really have a life outside of work, so I need to, start delegating a little bit. And that's kind of when I made that choice.
I love it. Can you tell us a little bit about the breakdown of your runs as far as what you have that runs dedicated, teams, solos, unassigned? Just a little bit about your business.
Sure. So we're running 11 dedicateds, 3 unassigned, 4 spares. We are all teams. So no solos, no spots or anything like that. Yeah, we're strictly line haul on that end. 100% of our business is here. We don't have anything outside of FedEx. But yeah, we're kind of, even with like the dedicated, our long-term plan is to try to be considered regional, I guess. But as of right now, we have dedicateds going to like Orlando, Hagerstown, Portland, a lot of Texas type stuff, some California stuff, and we're kind of all over. But long term, the plan is to try to bring the tractors to the West Coast if possible, just a little bit easier to manage, maintenance and stuff like that. You kind of can build call mechanics that if you break down in the middle of nowhere, it's pretty hard to build a relationship with somebody in Maryland. It's a lot easier to build something with Texas, let's say.
So in being all teams, talking to line haul contractors, that sounds like the dream in terms of line haul contracts. How did you target getting so many team runs?
I mean, it's just where we started, and we never really branched off. Honestly, we just kind of jumped on every opportunity there was to grow. And then, you work the unassigned board for X amount of years, and, you work peak to get your points, and you just bid on pretty much, I mean, whatever comes up, you pretty much want to get off unassigned, go to dedicated. That's kind of everyone's like bread and butter there. But it's, truck by truck, honestly.
And are your unassigned now? Are you still running a lot of your unassigned? I'm hearing from other contractors that some of the opportunities there are dwindling.
Yes. So it's been pretty tough the last year and a half for the unassigned board. Unassigned used to be really, really good. I mean, we were averaging over 5,000 miles. It was great. I mean, it was really easy. You're out, you're back.
5,000 a week?
Yeah, at least 5,000 a week. I mean, we were having weeks where, we're coming back over 6,000.
Yeah.
But, right now, I don't know an exact average, but I would say like we're probably teetering like low 4,000s. And some weeks it's, 0 miles. Yeah, you still have those weeks where your truck kind of works the network and everything. You do have your big, 5 to 6,000 mile weeks, but it's definitely not where it was, 2 years ago.
I thought it was really funny that Jake immediately said it sounds like a dream to have that many teams, because my first thought was, what a nightmare finding drivers. Holy cow. How do you manage your HR aspect? How do you find drivers that get along? How do you keep drivers that get along?
Yeah, so that's by far the hardest part of our businesses, the teams. It goes in waves. Sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's easy. We're seeing a lot more like husband and wives, boyfriend, girlfriends kind of stuff. Best friends coming into the industry now. So it's been getting a little bit easier, but yeah, you kind of have to play matchmaker a little bit, and you start off with like simple questions, just to kind of gauge people's, this might work, let's try it. And, after 1 week, you come back and they're like, hey, absolutely not. I can't do this for, long. And then there's times they come back and, after they leave work, they're actually friends and stuff like that.
Okay, for the show, Adrian, no names, but will you tell us your best drama story that you've had with your teams?
Oh man. Shit, there's been a lot in 20
I can
years.
only imagine.
So drama, I guess it would be there. It was kind of a buildup. They were kind of going back and forth for a while. They fixed things, they didn't fix things, they fixed things, they went back and forth. And I asked them, hey, do you guys want me to make a switch? Yes or no? They ended up saying no. They want to work it out. I get a call from a driver in New Mexico saying, hey, I need you to call the co-driver. He left me here. I'm like, what do you mean you left me here? He goes, yeah, I'm at a pilot. The truck is gone. And I check our OmniTracks and everything. And sure enough, he's like 30 minutes away. He left the driver there.
Get out of here.
What did you do?
Whoa.
I mean, he turned around. He definitely turned
Okay.
around and went and picked him up. And he said it was a mistake. But with weeks and all of that, it was, yeah. I don't know if it was a mistake or not.
Was this a romantic relationship?
This was not, no.
No. Have you had any situations where a romantic relationship split and then you had to juggle finding a new driver to put with each one?
No, that I haven't. It's pretty usually like your upside of husband and wife is that they're going to be good. They're going to work together well. The downside is when one leaves, the other leaves. So that's kind of what it is. But no, I haven't had one where it's, they split and they both want to stay with the company or anything like that.
So Jake
Yeah.
was just telling me before the episode that you've experienced some changes in the way your teams are running for, as far as sending out and then coming straight back. Can you, and I forget what term he used, can you tell me about that?
Sure. So it's called directional dispatching. And it was, there's nothing like officially announced, I guess, but they've been kind of telling us like internally, like at a local level, that pretty much what everyone's instructed to do right now is, let's say I go to Dallas from Phoenix, Dallas has to send me back to Phoenix. And then, let's say I go to Orlando has to send me back to Phoenix. It's kind of taken away the opportunity to work the network, which we're used to kind of doing. We're used to going to Dallas and let's say Kansas, Denver, then home. And now it's not like 100% every time, but it's been happening quite a bit to where I think this is probably what's coming like full time, at least until they can kind of get, the kinks and everything worked out a bit. But yeah, right now, and like the theory behind it is there's positives and there's negatives. So for me, the positive, and for the drivers, the positive is, okay, hey, if Dallas sends us right back to Phoenix, wouldn't you guys rather be stuck in Phoenix where your home and family is than, be in the middle of nowhere, like Hagerstown or whatever, be on the East Coast and, you're stuck there for, sometimes 36 hours. So there's positives. The negatives is kind of where that mileage average comes in, because right now it's not working. I think the way that they're planning to get it to is once Dallas sends us back to Phoenix, well, Phoenix has a bunch of other teams that aren't domiciled in Phoenix that they need to get out and back to their networks. So we come back to Phoenix and that's pretty much the end of our week right now. And in theory, I think what's going to happen once they kind of downsize the unassigned board to kind of really represent like the freight levels right now is I will go to Dallas. I'll come straight back to Phoenix. Phoenix is then going to say, okay, hey, I have a Kansas for you again. So, on Thursday, we're going back out to Kansas, and Kansas then can send us right home. Then, it's not a bad week. But right now, it is the bad part, because as soon as you come back to Phoenix, your home domicile, it's pretty much the end of your week.
So right now, what is the mileage difference between doing directional discharge, where you just go out and back, versus working the area?
It's hard to tell because, so like, for example, like Dallas and back is pretty much like 2,000 miles for us, a little bit over 2,000 miles. Now, if I start my week by going to Orlando, then I'm at, 4,500 miles. So it's really like where you start from Phoenix, but it's hard to say like what that number is. But if we use Dallas as an example, I know I'm capped at like 2,100 miles. What used to happen is I went to Dallas. Okay. There's, 1,100 miles. Then Dallas is going to send me on to, maybe Hartford, Connecticut, or wherever it is. So I'm gaining those miles. And then once I'm over there, coming back is okay because, we have a 2,400 mile dispatch coming back. So it's kind of hard because it really depends where you start your week. And recently, like in the last couple of weeks, it's been getting better to where we're getting longer runs coming out of Phoenix. And I think this is all kind of starting to get to where they want it to be. So I am getting a little bit more East Coast runs and stuff like that. So it seems it's slow moving, big ship takes forever to turn or whatever the saying is, but it seems like it's getting there finally.
Adrian, how do you pay your drivers? Is it just a straight cents per mile? And do
Yes.
you do any minimums for your drivers, or do you need to with your type of runs?
Yes. So we offer a 4,000 mile guarantee. So pretty much rain, shine, or snow, they're going to have that minimum every week as long as they, come to work.
So right now, if you are running from Dallas 2,100 miles a week and your minimum that you're paying drivers is 4,000 a week, what has that done to your bottom line?
It's been hurting. I mean, it's you're coming out of pocket for it. It's been one of those things that we implemented a guarantee like several years ago as kind of when the driver market was kind of bad, and it helped us quite a bit. So, but back then it was, hey, okay, we're 4,000 miles is nothing because we were getting 5,000 miles. So it really never came into effect. Like, there was a couple weeks here and there. Well, yeah, hey, this is why your guarantee's here. And, fast forward to the last year and a half, it's been almost weekly that we're kind of coming out of pocket for one of our three unassigned tractors. But it's, it would have been really easy to say, hey, things are bad. We're taking your guarantee away. But, we didn't. So, we kind of pride ourselves on that. We're going through it and, hopefully it gets better.
Yes,
So,
I hope so. And obviously, paying drivers minimum is huge for retention. What other tips and tricks do you guys do that you found have worked really well for you keeping your teams?
So that's a big one for us is our retention. We get calls from all across the country from drivers. Like our drivers are out there recommending us to other companies, and it's great. That's kind of one of the best parts of this is hearing your drivers, behind the scenes talk highly of us and positively. And I mean, there's not really a secret sauce, to be honest. I think the biggest thing is that we're able to kind of offer that corporate feel, but truly be a family environment. So I know a lot of my drivers' kids. I know a lot of their, significant others. I know them by name. We have yearly events where we, bring the families together. And, I'm personally always a bit available. My phone is, going off right now, but there's I'm never not going to answer my phone. My maintenance manager is never not going to answer his phone. Same thing with the safety manager. We're in front of them constantly. So this is not hey, I work for Gerard Trucking. I don't know who that is. It's they know who we are. And, I have drivers that have left me, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago that I still stay in contact with.
That's incredible. So, like Emily said, it seems like a lot of contractors that I'm talking to, driver retention, especially with somebody of your size, 18 trucks, 2 drivers per truck, that sounds incredibly difficult. Having fun things like gatherings that you mentioned sound awesome and so great for driver retention. Is there a set schedule that you do that? Who plans that? How do you work that into your business? And what are those typically like?
So this previous year, we just did one at barbecues. It's just kind of like a barbecue joint here in town. I just kind of rented out this little room. Everyone could eat, mingle. We had some raffles and some prizes and stuff. As far as the planning,
What were the
it's pretty-
raffles and the prizes?
So we had surround sounds, laptops,
Dang.
Laptops?
laptops.
Oh,
Yeah,
what?
yeah, we
Dang.
had some cards and some hand vacuums. We had I don't even know what air fryers and all of that stuff. So it was just fun. And then we had like our awards and stuff like that, where we kind of gave out some bonuses for like safe drivers and employee of the year and all of that stuff, and just some recognition type stuff.
That's amazing.
Yeah, but like as far as like the planning part of it is, that's the struggle. You kind of try to pick hey, this week is going to look slow, so let's pick a Sunday. So, hey, this is the one we're going to pick, and let's cross our fingers that every truck makes it, that kind of deal. And yeah, like last year, 2 of our teams got stuck out in the network and stuff like that. And it's really hard with teams because we're, at any given moment, at least one of my trucks is on the road somewhere. So you just kind of pick a day and you hope it works, honestly.
So for the day to day, how do you incentivize for safety?
So day to day, to incentivize, we have a safety bonus. So that's, money. That's the incentive,
And how often,
right? But
how often is that given? Okay.
So we do yearly. So we do like a big yearly end bonus. And then we also have like, for clean inspections, they'll have a bonus right on the spot there as soon as we get the paperwork, on their next check, they get their bonus on that. As that's incentivizing it, I guess. And like the way we really have it kind of like put into like a daily practice almost is my safety manager. So that's been a recent addition to our team. He's coming up on a year now. And it's been night and day. So he's in front of the drivers every week. He's there if they need any questions. There's safety trainings and stuff like that, that every contractor has to do. But, he's there kind of picking out pinpoints like, hey, school zones are coming back, or, summer traffic or whatever it may be. He's building these ahead of time and then focusing on, in that one category every month.
And is that a driver as well, or a manager, or is that person's sole focus just safety?
So sole focus is going to be safety. He's the safety manager that is qualified to drive for FedEx. So he, I don't want to give too much of his information or anything, but we got him from a pretty big trucking company to come join us. So, we're really lucky that we got him and he chose us. But he is qualified to drive. He has, a lot of years of driving experience. So he's actually on the road right now covering. So, but yeah. So yeah, he's a full-time able to drive anytime that we need him to, but his full-time job is
Have
safety.
you seen in the past year since you hired him a change in your safety score?
Yeah. Yep. So we at one point hit a tier 2. I don't know if you guys are familiar with FedEx's tiering. Like, 1 is, bad. 2 is not great. 3 would be like your average. 4 is really where you want to sit, because 5 is basically unattainable for our size. It's, one minor ticket for the year and you're out. But yeah, we went from a 2 to a 4. So it was a pretty big jump over that year.
That's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I had a question. I want to circle back just slightly, just getting into the nitty gritty of it. A lot of people really like to hear about driver pay and incentives and how you work with that. On the safety incentives that you pay out, and on the inspection incentives that you pay out, is that a flat rate that you're paying for each driver, or is that a percentage of their pay?
No, that's just on top of their pay. It's just a flat rate.
Just a flat rate. Okay, cool. That's awesome.
Sorry, Jake, I couldn't tell if you had a question. I'm going to dive in again.
I couldn't tell if you had a question.
My turn.
See, Adrian, this is our, I think, fourth or fifth recording. So we're still playing off who goes first. And I totally threw Emily off by asking 2 questions a couple questions ago, which is not what we agreed
That's
upon.
okay. It's great. I just thought maybe you had another one. But I do have a question asking about that safety score. I know that they have fairly recently implemented medals also for the line haul side. Do you mind sharing where you came in as far as medals and how much the safety score impacted that?
Sure. So that league, it's pretty vague. for us. So, well, to answer it quickly, it's silver right now. But it's very vague right now because we don't really know how to get to gold. And we definitely know how to get to bronze, just have everything be bad. So what they ultimately told us when we went to Orlando is when they put the summit together for us, they kind of touched base on it to where they said you're going to have your like top 10% of the entire United States be gold. Then you have 80% of people that are going to be in silver. Then your bottom 10% will be bronze. So we're trying to figure out how to get to gold right now. We're hoping this month on the 15th, once everything updates, we have a couple of things falling off to see if that will boost us up into it. Because our numbers are really good. So our availability is great. Our service is at 100%. Our safety score is down in tier 4 now. So we're not sure. So we're kind of thinking right now, since it's a new process, I think they're definitely going to end up tweaking it. But I think right now it might be like most of gold. And this is just assuming, but I would assume most of gold right now is like really small companies that are able to get that perfect score with, 1 or 2 trucks. But we'll find out on the 15th, because after that, we're pretty much maxed out on what we're able to kind of improve on to, most of the extent. So, we're kind of curious to see if that bumps us up.
Adrian, we had David Cooper on a couple of weeks ago, and his episode is going to be coming out shortly. What he started incentivizing for was actually fuel. And what he saw was with fuel conservation with the drivers, he actually saw his safety scores go up, because that means they were going a little bit slower. They were maybe coasting into stops, things like that. With your safety score going from a 2 to a 4, have you seen your fuel charges go down?
I can't say that those correlate for us. Mm-hmm. I've heard a lot of people do that. I know a lot of people, have drivers fuel at just terminals and stuff like that to avoid truck stops for, safety reasons. But for me, it's one of those things that's a really big thing for the drivers, just to be able to stop when they feel like they can stop at whatever, fuel place they want to stop at, whether it's Pilot, TA, or, wherever it is, maybe their favorite burgers on this stop. So it's been something that we looked at in the past. It's just not something that us personally feel like it's worth the cost to retention, I guess. Is that something we'll maybe explore down the line? I mean, we might have to, of course, but for right now, I mean, we just feel like it's, let the drivers kind of know when they need to stop and, use the restroom. Don't force yourself to go an extra 30 miles uncomfortably. I mean, I could see the opposite effect happening too. But yeah, I mean, for us, it's, our trucks are governed at 65, so it's not, not much slower, I guess, you can go to incentivize your fuel, I guess. I mean, I'm sure some people do it, lower than that. I don't know. But yeah, for us, it's just drivers like their points, drivers like to stop where they want to stop. And that's kind of the route we took.
Do you use a fuel card? Do you mind sharing what you use?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we've been with T-Check pretty much since we started. I know REL or REL is a recent new one. I'll be honest, I really don't know too much about them. We're just happy with T-Check, so I never made the change.
By the way, I'm not sure. I might have said Alex Cooper. I meant David Cooper. So with T-Check, you said if they go to TA Pilot, it doesn't really matter to you, or at the terminal, whatever. How does that work? Are they incentivized for, are you more incentivized for going to Pilot, or how does T-Check work exactly?
So I don't know which exact one it is, but I know there's one that they did a deal with. I want to say it's Pilot, that had like a right off the top kind of deal. They just take 10 or 20 cents off the top every time that you go there. So I know there's a certain one that they partnered with. Again, it's been one of those things where it's, hey, if you like Flying J, I'm not going to tell you what to pilot, right? So it's just been kind of, hopefully we never get to that part where we're, having to really look into those kind of things and be like, okay, hey, here's the way we're going to make cuts. It's by, going to certain places. But yeah, I know they do have a partnership with one of them. I just don't know off the top of my head.
Thanks, Adrian. I'm going to jump back just a little bit. I had one more question in my mind about the safety element. When you moved from the 2
Mhm.
to the 4 safety score over the course of a year, was there any one event that stood out to you that by just eliminating that one event, you noticed a big difference, or was it just kind of a whole gamut of issues?
Like as far as like something that happened, like an accident came off
I
our
guess I was
record,
thinking more
or
like
do
when you
like
go
do you mean?
through scales. Obviously, with team drivers going long distances, you're running through lots of scales, lots of safety checks. Was there any issue that
Mhm.
came up that you were able to resolve, like anything that sticks out in your mind?
Yeah, so one of the big parts was vehicle maintenance with safety. So like we got back, during COVID and everything, we weren't able to get new tractors the way we do right now. So we were having to run our units a little bit longer than we wanted to, but we just didn't have a choice. The trucks weren't coming in. So, older the trucks got, the worse they look. And, the more mechanical problems that they're going to have, and more cosmetic issues that they're going to have. And we had a lot of like ticky tacky CSA violations that were under vehicle maintenance. And pretty much from COVID to now, I mean, we have a brand new fleet, like including our spares. And that alone, I think, was a pretty big help to that. We're not getting these small, like, pinch wires and flat tires, or I mean, we'll get flat tires on a new truck too. But I mean, they're just brand new, shiny. They're not getting pulled over as much. So it's, we're just kind of taking the target off our backs with these new tractors.
That makes a lot of sense. So that kind of transitions us nicely into talking about trucks. What do you do for trucks? How are you getting trucks? It sounds like you run primarily new. Is there ever a reason to run used? And when do you trade them out?
So right now I'm in between using ride or lease and then purchasing Freightliners. Um, there is, I mean, I'll just say it because I've had a terrible experience with them. Peterbilt, we went for the first time ever. We've been Freightliner since day one. And during COVID, we had to, find a truck, and they were like, hey, we have new trucks. We can get them to you in a couple months. Let's do it. Well, we bought 3 of them. It's was the last 3 I ever bought from them, and will be the last 3 I ever bought. And I'll leave it at that. But we're in between right now, purchasing and leasing. I think ultimately our goal is to be able to purchase all of them. That's kind of our long-term goal. So like we can kind of move our trucks where we need. Right now, the leases are 3 years, about 750,000. What we used to do was buy our tractors, keep them for 2 years, trade them in right before 500,000, and that's kind of like your warranties go out. You start to see the truck kind of, depending on the truck, you start having a little bit more problems after 500,000. So ultimately, we would like to get back to that. I don't know if that's ever going to be possible again, just with kind of how the trucking market is and what they hold value for anymore. Because we put the miles on these trucks very fast. So we, most of the time they're like, hey, how'd you put, 500,000 in 2 years? I mean, well, team driving, but it's, we're trying to find that balance. But I think we're kind of leaning more towards the purchasing the trucks ourselves, because our leases go for 3 years and Ryder maintains them for those 3 years. So, they have a lot more people on their, analytical side and all of that. So they found some benefit to do 3 years. We're trying to find out now ourselves, can we run these trucks to 750, have them completely paid off, maybe get a month or 2 out of them after that, save on the payments there, and kind of just recycle that process until we can fully have brand new trucks, fully paid off. It's a long-term plan, but that's kind of where we are trying to get to now.
I know you said the phrase, we'll leave it at that, but that totally piqued my curiosity. What happened with those Peterbilts? What went wrong?
We still have them. We had to convert them into our spares because they can't stay on the road. They had like the student mirrors. Some people call them like the hood mirrors, student mirrors up on the front. All three of our tractors, they just fall off on the road. The service takes like 3 weeks for me to get like a camera mounted. Their pricing for maintenance is just insane. The tractors are more expensive. Don't get me wrong. The inside of the tractor looks amazing. They have a really nice inside. The outside looks great. Cosmetically, they look fantastic. They're great tractors. I don't know. I don't think they're meant to do what FedEx does with, quick miles in that year. And we're big Detroit engine fans. I'm not a big fan of the PACCAR. Some people are. It's just not my cup of tea. But yeah, it's just been. But salesman's great. We had a great experience with the salesman. Just service, and honestly, the quality of the truck is just, they're not there, in comparison to Freightliner, and they cost more. So it's.
Adrian, you mentioned the service and how slow it is to get service done. Do you have an on-staff tech, or how are you guys dealing with maintenance on all of your trucks?
So we have a couple of things. So our MRCs, the maintenance relief coordinators, they're not mechanics, but they are pre-tripping the trucks every week. So every truck is being pre-tripped by them every week. So
every single truck?
Every single truck. Yep. So they are fluids, visual walk-arounds. They're not turning wrenches or anything like that. We work with Freightliner, obviously. Right now we're working with Ryder as well on the Ryder trucks. And then there's a local mechanic that we work with here in Arizona who's been great. He's actually a contractor as well at FedEx who has a mechanic side. And yeah, he's been great for us. So it's the hard part is we have like 1 or 2 down days and that truck has to be right back up. So, 3 weeks was just, it's not doable. I mean, and this was for a camera. It's not even for like a mechanical issue. So
That makes sense. I am going to jump to another topic we wanted to cover with you. Do you mind sharing with us? I know obviously insurance is a large expense for a contractor. Do you mind sharing where you found success with your insurance as far as truck and workers' comp, and what other types of insurance you choose to carry?
yeah. So I never left Protective. Protective is still good. I like Protective. They're pretty fair. I shopped it around. It wasn't enough to like make the big jump. I mean, they're quick. They get the paperwork. They're connected with FedEx. Marsh is not who I use. I left them a long time ago, and I tell that to all my contractor friends. If you're still with Marsh, you're just leaving money on the table. Honestly, the first year I left, it was almost like $80,000 of a gap. It was major. I couldn't even believe it.
Wow.
And I think since then they've been kind of realizing like, hey, contractors are branching out. Like they're realizing that there's other options out there. I'm shopping that every year for my workman's comp. I use the same broker, but they shop it to a couple of few places. So like right now I'm currently with Clear Springs, and it's a weekly reporting. So I send them down to the exact penny payroll and everything on a monthly basis. And that was another thing with Marsh is that, hey, they told us it's going to be X amount. And every year, no matter what it was, no matter how much we raised it, we get an audit at the end of the year, and somehow magically we owe them money again. So it was tedious. It was, yeah. I mean, now with Clear Springs, it's, we still get an audit every year, but we send them down to the penny what it is. So they go, hey, show us the books. We send them the books. They go, hey, look, it's down to the exact penny. Perfect. Thank you. We'll see you next year. So.
Adrian, in going from a 2 safety score to a 4 safety score, were you able to go to your insurance provider and say, hey, we've been a lot more safe. Can we have a discounted rate this year?
I never tried that, to be honest. I don't think that they're going to factor that in there. I think they're more just like, hey, did you have an accident or did you have a claim than not? Because they typically don't ask for like tickets or any of that. It's just pretty much, hey, you had here's your mod score based off of your accidents or your, workman's comp claims. But yeah, they'll do like some of the workman's comp places will say, hey, if you implement, XYZ, we'll give you like a little break on this, but it's nothing that's like, game changing or anything like that.
Amazing information, Adrian. Thank you for sharing all that with us. Jake, do you have any other questions that you want to circle back to before we get to our 3 to thrive?
I think we nailed it. We went over team driving, directional discharge, driver pay, insurance, trucks, fuel. Adrian, is there anything else that you want to dive into?
No, I mean, unless if you guys have some questions, this is what I do every day. So it's
Well, thank you. I am going to start with our first question for you that we've been asking every contractor coming on this show. And what was one of the most worthwhile investments that you made into your FedEx business?
it's definitely going to be the safety manager overall. That's definitely the biggest one recently. It's by far, yeah, it's helped us in every aspect. Driver retention, it's helped with. It's obviously our safety score, it's helped with. Outside of safety equipment that comes with the tractors, which is becoming mandatory anyways. So you can't really say you're investing in it because you have to have it anyways. But yeah, I would say the safety manager by far.
Actually, I have a follow-up before I go to question 2. Has the safety manager increased your bottom line financially as well?
I don't know if there's a correlation there, honestly. I don't know how that would connect exactly. I mean, I guess you could say it. I mean, it has to increase somewhat because he is covering runs when people are, taking vacations and he's picking up extra runs and stuff. So I would say yes, but not through the safety side, I guess.
Cool. That makes sense. Our second question, oftentimes failure in business is the greatest teacher. Do you have a favorite failure?
Failure. I mean, not really, because my dad kind of went through everything, so it was
Nice.
he went through hard times, to be honest. And he kind of, obviously he paved the road for me and everybody. So, I mean, honestly, I guess the biggest failure truly right now is just we got antsy with these Peterbilts that we needed. And, I'm counting that as a big loss. We're trying to get out of there, as soon as we can. And just, I guess that would be what it is. Like, don't jump, at the first opportunity when you feel stuck. Because had we not, we could have waited like an extra 3-4 months, managed that 3-4 months, and we could have gotten these freight liners. But at that time, we just didn't know when Freightliner was going to come back. So that's what I would say. Just jump too early when we felt stuck.
Yeah, great answer.
You're smarter than me. I made the same mistakes as my dad and my grandpa. So good on you.
Absolutely. And our last question, what is your favorite part about being a FedEx contractor?
Favorite part of being a FedEx contractor? Honestly, just it's for being in the trucking industry, it's probably the best opportunity that you can have. I've heard horror stories of, brokers not paying you. We just saw Yellow go under, one of the biggest companies in the world. You're seeing US Express get, bought out by Swift, I think was recently happened. That wasn't even reported on. I didn't see much on that, but just the honestly, just the ease of what they do for us is probably my favorite. And of course there's going to be rough times, stuff that you don't agree with and everything, but just the ease of it. Like, I've never, wake up at, midnight on Friday to make sure that we got our direct deposits. Like, there's never been a hiccup on that. There's never been, the worry of tomorrow is FedEx going to be there kind of deal. Maybe their future in 20, 30, 40 years is autonomous possibly, but just the day-to-day is really easy, and you just don't have to stress about knowing when your next route's coming and stuff like that.
That was great. We did it. That was great, Adrian.
All right, perfect.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you for your time.
Of course.
This was fantastic. Really appreciate you sharing with us.
Routing for Success is brought to you by AP Equipment Financing. In today's competitive market, it is essential to acquire the right trucks at a fair price and finance them in a way that makes sense for your business. Leveraging their extensive network of truck and van suppliers, the experts at AP Equipment Financing will help you locate the best deals on step vans, cutaways, panel vans, and more. Deliver them straight to your facility and finance them with low monthly installment options. Click the link in the description or visit apfinancing.com for more information. Routing for Success is an independent production of AP Equipment Financing and is in no way affiliated with or endorsed by FedEx Corporation, FedEx Ground, Amazon, or any other logistics company discussed herein. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Routing for Success.